This is Calvin. Hello everyone, this is Calvin Castine. This is the Friday the 13th, August 13th, 1993. And we're on the Scott Bayshard property in Champlain where the North Country gas pipeline is being installed. And we're standing in some ledged area where the pipeline will be going through. As we see down below, there are some bags that the pipeline company is going to rest the pipeline on because of the sharp rocks here involved in this ledge. We're invited down here by Scott Bayshard to look at some of the flooding that has resulted from the pipeline construction. We're not here to take sides. We're here to find out what's happening in our community. We're hoping for an interview with some of the principals from Falcon Seaboard in the not too distant future, but in the meantime Scott invited us down to take a look at some of the problems he's having, and we thought we'd come along and hear what he had to say. A moment ago we were over there by that tractor, and we've come down a ways, and I'm going to try to get Scott over here to explain to us what he sees as the problems involved here. But just to give you an idea where we are, looking that way is toward the Perry's Mills Road. As we come over here to our left, we see the brokers on the West Access Road in Champlain, and looking way across to Upper Oak Street there, the Bayshard Farm, and the U.S. Customs and Canadian Customs are in this direction here. The proposed Toulon Mall, I think, would be probably in that direction over there, Scott, behind those trees.
Right past the cedars.
The other side.
Line, about 200 feet in past.
That's the mall that was proposed for the West Access Road in that direction. So this is in back of the West Access Road to the west of there. And looking in this direction there, that little trailer over there is in Canada. And of course they're coming down from Canada to provide the gas for this pipeline. Come on over here, a little bit less muddy, Scott. First of all, we are standing, come on over by the side of me here. We won't get you on your face on, we'll get your voice on instead, because
that's better.
We're more interested in your voice than your face today.
That's good.
First of all, this is your access right here to cross the pipeline onto you. And this is your property here we're looking at ahead of us?
Yep. There's 218 acres back here. That's the whole farm. And this access here, I'm supposed to have access through here at all times with my machinery.
I hope you haven't tried recently to try to get through there. Do you use this for anything back here? Is it, I see a lot of wild carrots and stuff growing. Is it pasture land, or what do you use it for usually?
Well, it's usually a cornfield, but I told them I wasn't going to plant it because of this line coming through it. And it backed up all the water. So I said I wasn't going to put it in corn, and I didn't.
Okay, I'm going to let you hold this mic because I've got only two hands. One's on the camera, one's on the mic, and the other one wants to swat mosquitoes as we're talking. Okay, we're looking at a large quantity of water here in there where the pipe is supposed to be going. Below this water is where the pipeline route is. That's about 3 or 4 feet deep, I'd assume, right there?
That line right there is supposed to be around 54 inches. That's what's supposed to cover the line. So you probably have about, I don't know, 6 feet of water better.
Okay, how'd the water get here, Scott?
Well, there was no water here till they started digging. And when they dug, they hooked a spring in the corner, and she filled right up. Before we had the rains, it was just about full.
I think you told me before we came here that they've hit 3 springs, you think?
Yeah, there's 3 springs. There's one here, then there's one about 300 feet from the border, then there's one in the center of the field.
So they're all draining into this in the pipeline route. What are their intentions to alleviate this?
Well, what they want to do is they want to put a tile on the side of their line just to keep their line dry, but that don't help me out any.
So they'll put a drainage tile, and where are they going to drain it to?
They're going to drain it into the ditch, but there's really no outlet for the water to go.
Okay, so they drain it into, you have a ditch, you're talking about the ditch in that direction there, your ditch, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I have a ditch that Fortin coming from Canada and put in, and the ditch is only about 3 feet deep, and it's not going to be able to take this water.
Where's that ditch drain into?
That goes in back of Myers and through, right down to the thruway, to 87.
Okay, so there's no river or anything that it's draining into, it just drains into...
Well, it eventually hits the river, but it's got to go miles before it gets there.
Okay, and you feel that this little tile they're going to put, the drainage tile they're going to put in, is not going to help your situation here? You feel you're going to have some wet land from for here on in this area? Is that your feelings or what?
Yeah, well, that's what I feel. They created the problem, they should take care of it.
Okay, so you're hoping that they'll lay some other tile, regular farm drainage tile in here to take care of your problem? That's your hope?
Well, I talked to the ag people, and they say I qualify for tiling the farm because of this problem.
Okay, what else you think we should cover while I'm out here?
Well, you can take a walk down there if you want and see those guys working, wrapping the pipe, and you can see the actual ditch where this water's got to go.
Now we're down next to Scott's ditch, and this mesh that we see wrapped around the pipe. Is your understanding that's going to be all the way through, all 20 some odd miles, Scott?
That's the way it looks. It's for the friction of the line for stones and stuff.
Apparently the pipes will be vibrating a little bit when the gas is being pumped through, which is it's constantly being pumped through, right?
Yeah, that's what they say. They say there's such a friction that it'll even sort of heat the ground a little bit.
That should be interesting. Now, these cement, this is cement around some of this pipe?
Yeah, that's where they're supposed to sink it in the ground to go under a ditch. They got to have cement on each side.
One thing that surprises me, I noticed this on the way to, looking at the pipeline on the way to Champlain to Rouse's Point, that they put it together above ground. I somehow thought that they'd be putting it together in the ditch itself. Does this surprise you a little bit?
Yeah, that's what I thought, but the guy says they take three dozers with the cranes on them, and they put sections at a time in.
This is going to be a long section that they're putting in here. And again, that trailer that we see just up the ways, that is Canada. Now, is there a road nearby up there that way?
Yeah, there's a road by Fortin's, by his trucking place. If you look over there, you can see the Michigan loader in the woods there. He's clearing right now.
So that's on the Fortin trucking property?
Yep. That's 100 acres of land back there that they cleared within the last 5-6 years.
Okay, your ditch here is probably 2-3 feet deep, and the water in their new ditch here is 54 inches deep. So there's going to be a lot of depth, even if your ditch did start to drain this out, a lot more underneath the depth of your ditch right now, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. We're thinking about planting rice.
Now, to be fair with the pipeline people, they have taken care of crop damage in this entire field. Is that what you told me?
Well, we're talking about it today. They didn't really confirm anything yet. So I wouldn't hold my breath. I'd probably turn blue.
Okay, but they are negotiating with you
we're
to try to make it good?
Yeah.
And your main concern now is for the future that because this water wasn't standing here before, you're concerned about this being unusable in the future?
Well, yeah, that 3-foot ditch has no capacity for that type of water. And that's all they have to run it out of. So, you know, I went through eminent domain, so I don't feel I have to give them the ditch, the use of that ditch. So that's where we are right now on that.
Okay, so when all this is done, outside of the eminent domain part, what are you looking for to happen, Scott?
Well, I'd like the lands, all the lands visible from here, to be tiled and drained proper. I don't want half a job.
Now, when walking down here, up at the other end over this way, when we walked through the gap in the tree line over there, we saw ledge, which was just a few inches below. How's the quality of this land we're talking about down here?
Well, over here, I had Lyman Defiant. He's a field man for Agway, and he said if this farm was drained proper, he said it'd be one of the best lands in Clinton County. But by the ledge, you know, there's no quality over there.
But up at the other end there, you can see it rises a little bit, and there's ledge very close to the ground. But down here, there is a good amount of topsoil.
Yeah, it's got the soil like Canada. It's got that black muck like in some of the fields.
That little bridge is stronger than I thought it was. Let's see that big caterpillar going over it.
Oh yeah, they've been going over with a lot heavier machinery than that.
The pipe seems to take almost a 90-degree turn here, Scott. Did they do that for any particular reason that you're aware of?
Well, I don't know, but I see like they were aiming to get themselves on a property line of Francis Nevert up there. That's why they had to steer up towards the hill with the two-land mall.
Well, why wouldn't you would think that they would just start right back there and make a straight cut. This just seems strange that they'd make it's not 90, but it's pretty darn close to it. 90-degree turn like that. It seems kind of strange, doesn't it?
Well, I had the Public Service Commission on the farm, and they said because of Trans-Canada, the other gas line over in Canada, that they said the line is here, and to get all the permits and all the things to move the line further to the west, that it would take a year or better. And that's the reason that Canada said it started there, and that's why they went there.
Yeah, but my point, I guess, was that they could have drifted over there a lot easier than making a sudden cut instead of just cutting this way. If they'd gone to the right a little bit and tied right up over there, it would have made a little more sense.
Well, I asked them not to put that bend in there, but they said that's where it's going and that's it.
And that's that's the way it's happened with several people, I guess. I know people up my way on the Ridge Road were under the impression that there wouldn't be any blasting in back there, and there was a heck of a lot of blasting, and I guess they did have all the proper permits and everything else, so they're not doing anything illegal. They've got what they're supposed to have done as far as permits and everything. It may not make the landowners happy all the time, but apparently they're not violating their agreement with the DEC and the Public Service Commission and whoever else is involved in all this.
Well, the thing is that they tell you we'll settle 2-3 years down the road in court, and 2-3 years down the road you got a chance to lose your whole business, your farm, the whole works, before you're even compensated.
Yeah, we should point out, you did mention at the start that you were under eminent domain. There's just maybe a handful of people that did end up going eminent domain.
I know about 5 or 6 that went eminent domain. That's about all that I know of.
Okay, and this is one of them, and again, we're not here to take sides in this, but Scott feels that the value of his property, because its nearness to future development along the U.S.-Canadian border, which is starting to really take off, increase the value of his property, and that's why he and the Falcon Seaboard people weren't able to come together on terms for the price of coming through here. And they are coming through about a mile.
About a mile, yep.
I know the route is only 20 some odd miles to begin with, so that's about 5% of the route is on your property.
It's cool. I'm one of the big ones that they hit, and they're taking, I think it's 70 feet wide, and it comes to about 7.5 acres of land if you count it by the easement, by the strip. And for the amount that they offered me, there's no way I would sell 7 acres for that.
Well, especially since it's not stuck in a corner somewhere. It's it's running right through your property.
I offered Falcon Seaboard. We were on the farm with Public Service Commission and a guy from the ASTS office, and I offered him to take that line to the west on my property line, and you wouldn't even know I existed over here. Come down with that line, I'll give them any kind of right-of-ways, anything they needed, and they said no way. They said because of Canada.
Because it had to tie into that particular spot.
Yeah, they said being on the border, I had limited flexibility.
I know in some of the areas when they crossed my father's farm, they were very cooperative as far as avoiding as much working land as they could. They went through the pasture whenever they could, and some places they just couldn't avoid it. And I'd imagine that that was a legitimate answer here, is that that's where the line has got to start, and there's not much they can do. I mean, if Canada says that's where the spigot is, that's where the spigot is, and so I can see their point there.
Well, I'm not trying to stop progress, but I want to be compensated what it was worth, because I got to live with this line the rest of my life on my farm.
And that's for a future chapter, I guess, right? As the eminent domain procedure progresses.
Well, I've been through eminent domain before on my other farm with the missile base, but my grandfather was on that deal. So this is the second time I get land taken away.
So that was before you weren't farming back then.
No, it was 1963. I wasn't even thinking about farming.
Okay, we just wanted to find out what's happening here. This is the northernmost part of the North Country gas pipeline, and it's not always smooth sailing, as we see. There are problems along the way, and as with anything that, whether it's the interstate when it came in, or the missile base or whatever, there's always property owners who somehow find out that they don't really own their property after all. Eminent domain kicks in. So that's going to wrap up our coverage here with Scott Bayshard, unless you have something else you'd like to throw in at the end.
If you can see way down where that truck or car is, way down in the corner down there, that's where your line is coming from in Canada, and it's coming out to over here. And that's way on the west of my property line. I don't know why they couldn't have just went straight. They'd have been right in line.
So you're saying that that vehicle over there is where it's coming in from Canada, and they're detouring it over here to meet up with your line now.
Right. That's exactly what they're doing. And I offered them to go over there free of charge, no problem. You won't even know I'm here. They said no way. I don't know. I don't understand it.
I don't either, but I guess we'll find out when everything gets to the courts. Thanks for chatting with us, Scott.
Yeah, no problem.
One final point on this tape that I want to make as we make our way out of here is that we do hope, as I mentioned at the start, to be talking with representatives from the gas pipeline in a very near future. So hopefully we'll be able to talk to them about the problems that they've run into throughout this building the pipeline, and find out the things that went right and what went wrong with it so far.